because I really needed to bind it up quickly. I told you the problem on the last turn, and I said that I will be taking up the doubts and problems, questions on the next turn. So are there any questions from the experiment? And if you would have noticed, yesterday, in fact, I have uploaded the videos about the functioning of the balance, number one. Then the second experiment also, I have uploaded the video. The PPT I have uploaded just before the class today. And even the experiment that we will be discussing today, in fact, that is going to be the second experiment of your volumetric part. Even the video of that experiment I had uploaded yesterday, and the PPT right now. So have you seen it? The ones that I have uploaded yesterday? And what about the doubts and questions? Do you have any questions in your mind, or should I continue with the second experiment today now?
Ma'am, continue the second experiment.
I should continue with the next experiment. Okay. I'm not getting many responses. What is the reason? People are still in the sleepy mode, 9 o'clock in the morning. So tell me if the slide is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
So coming to the objective of the second experiment now, in the volumetric category, the objective for today's experiment is going to be the determination of the alkalinity of the supplied water sample. So there is not much to discuss about the objective as well as the principle of the experiment, because that I have taken up in detail in your theory class. I have explained what alkalinity is and how it is estimated experimentally. So first of all, will anyone define the term alkalinity with respect to water chemistry?
Ma'am, alkalinity of any substance is a acid neutralizing ability.
A substance, or say of water. Here we are talking with respect to the water chemistry.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Here about water.
Yes, yes. So it is the acid neutralizing ability. It is a characteristic of water which is a measure of its acid neutralizing ability. You should answer this way. And yes, if you remember, the three ions which are mainly responsible for the alkalinity of any water sample.
Hydroxide, carbonate, and bicarbonate.
Yes, these are the three ions primarily responsible for the alkalinity of any water sample. Then how is it estimated? Alkalinity. Even this I have discussed in the class. What experimental procedure is adopted?
Acid-base titration using two indicators.
Acid-base titration, yes, absolutely right, using two indicators. And what were the two indicators that were used?
Phenolphthalein and methyl orange.
Phenolphthalein and methyl orange. And if you remember, on the basis of the data that we obtained from this experiment, how many types of alkalinity can you come across in any sample? Five types. Yes, yes. So in fact, if you remember all these basic information regarding the experiment, that nothing is much to be explained. Very quickly, we'll go through it. So slide number 3. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
And you can go through the theory. In fact, it is available in the lab manual as well. The theory. We've already talked about this, that alkalinity in any water sample is due to the presence of the hydroxide, carbonate, and bicarbonate ions. And it is determined by the titration with a standard acid solution. which is performed in the presence of two indicators to characterize the type of alkalinity present and the composition of alkalinity. And even this I have told you. Why are we not using only one indicator? Because if we use methyl orange, then the total alkalinity present in the water sample can be determined. But why are we using two indicators in this experiment? Because then only we'll be able to predict which type of alkalinity is present in the water sample and what is the concentration of the individual ions. Is it clear? And in fact, these three reactions I made you write in the class itself, which are the neutralization reactions of all the three ions, which can cause alkalinity. And I emphasized on the point that the neutralization of carbonate especially takes place in two steps. In the first step, it is half neutralized to the bicarbonate ions, which take up more of the same volume of acid and finally get converted into water and carbon dioxide molecules. And I even told you to remember the sequence of the three ions. Now the videos I have already uploaded in the file section of your team folder. I will be only discussing it, how will it be done theoretically right now, and you can confirm it from the video. See, the purpose of the videos is only to make you familiar with the color changes as well. And there might be certain things which are not very easy to understand via only a set of instructions. And if you see it, it would be easier to understand. That is the only significance of videos. Otherwise, the instructions that I'm giving in the class, they are sufficient enough to understand the experiment, especially when they have been taken up in the classroom. Theory classes I'm talking about. So let us come to the procedure now. The procedure is divided into two parts. You will be given a water sample for which you have to determine the alkalinity. Now, it has to be titrated, the water sample has to be titrated against a standard acid. So what do you mean by the term standard?
Concentration known to us.
Come again, I cannot hear you.
Concentration is known.
Concentration is known. So see, the acid solution which is being supplied to you, you do not know the concentration of that acid at first. So what needs to be done in the first step? First of all, you need to standardize that acid because the concentration of the acid will not be given to you. So how do you think will that be done? If you want to know the concentration of the acid, how do you think it will be done? In fact, I have discussed the standardization of EDTA in the class when I was discussing hardness. But I did not discuss the standardization of acid in the classroom. So how do you think it can be done? I should be titrating the acid solution against what?
मैम
Someone
कोई नॉन
think and answer.
नॉन
Yes.
कंसंट्रेशन का बेस लेके टाइट्रेट करके देख लेंगे.
Yes. In fact, a basic water sample, a sample for which the concentration is known. So you can start with a water sample, a basic water sample, the concentration of which is known to you. That is absolutely right. And this is what we will be doing. We will be preparing a known water sample of which the basicity will be known to us, and we will be titrating it against standard acid, sorry, the unknown acid. And from the principle of chemical equivalence, then we will find out what is the concentration of the acid that has been supplied to you. And once you will know the concentration, then in the second step, you will carry out the titration of the standard acid against unknown water sample. So again, you will be applying the law of chemical equivalence, and for the second step, you will find out what is the concentration of the alkalinity causing ions in the unknown water sample. So first we will be talking about the first step, which is the standardization of acid solution. And for that, what is being done? Since the concentration of the water sample should be known to you, you will be adding a basic salt, a known amount of a basic salt to a specific volume, of deionized water. So what has been given in the instruction, you need to weigh accurately 0.265 gram of sodium carbonate. It should be dried and AR grade. Does anyone know what is the meaning of AR? It is analytical reagent grade. Analytical reagent. See, the chemicals come with different levels of purity commercially. So certain chemicals require a very high state of purity. Some do not require that much. So analytical reagent grade is actually telling you about the quality or in fact the purity of the chemical that is being used. So it should be of analytical reagent grade, and a specific weight has been specified which needs to be weighed of sodium carbonate. So if you will be using sodium carbonate, that means the alkalinity of the water sample will be due to the presence of the carbonate ions, because sodium carbonate will be soluble in water and it will furnish carbonate ions in the water sample. Tell me about the weight. What denominations of weight you will be placing on the pan for weighing 0.265 gram of sodium carbonate? What denomination will you be using? You can post your answer in the chat section.
Milligram, I think.
What weights you will be placing on the pan in order to weigh 0.265 gram of sodium carbonate? You can even answer verbally. Come on, answer. In fact, you answered on the last turn with a much difficult weight. This is quite easy. What is going to be the denominations of the weight that you will be placing on the pan? Have you understood the question? Okay, Bhumika has come up with the answer. Bhumika is saying 200 milligram. Okay, that is right. 60 mg weight you do not have, Bhumika, in the weight box.
Actually, it was 3 times 20 milligram means we can take.
Yes, am I audible and the slide visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so you were telling me about the weights that should be used. Akash, Rishi, many of you have come up. Rishi, you are saying 3 weights of 20 milligram. You have only 2 weights of 20 milligram in the weight box. You need to keep the denominations in mind. Even Akash is saying the same thing. Ayush. Okay, Ayush has come up with 50 mg plus 10 mg. That is right. And Ayush, tell me, do you have a 50 milligram weight in the weight box, the micro weight box?
Ma'am, I don't remember. I think no.
320 weights are not there.
Ma'am, we can use 20 milligram, two of 20 milligram and 2 of 10 milligram. Then it will be 60 like that.
What about 5 mg? Ayush, you are right till this point. 200 milligram, that is right. Then 60 you have made by 50 plus 10. That is right. You do not have a weight of 50 milligram.
Yes, ma'am, we
For
can
that
use
50 milligram weight, what you need to do? How will that be introduced?
ma'am 2 of 20 milligram and 1 of 10 milligram.
You're not getting my point. 50 mg plus 10 mg is all right. The last denomination that you have given is not right. Aditya, even you are coming with the same answer, 20 into 3. You do not have 3 weights of 20 milligram. You just have 2 weights of, I told you the ratio. The ratio is, what is the ratio of the weights that is there in the weight box? 1 is to 2 is to 2 is to 1. That was the ratio. How will you place 5 milligram? 5 milligram you all are saying, but how will this 5 milligram be placed? It is not there in the weight box. For that 5 milligram weight, what needs to be introduced? The minimum weight that you have in the weight box is of 10 milligram.
And then we will use rider at 25 units.
Yes, that is the thing. So nobody has reported that. If you are going below 10 milligram, you have to use the rider. And what is going to be the position of the rider?
25 units.
25th division, yes. Because you can record up to the 4th decimal place, remember that. And here you can see only 3 decimal places. That means the last unit or the last digit is 0. And I have told you the last 2 digits in a 4 decimal place reading, you simply need to divide by 2. If it is 50, you need to divide by 2 and you will get the 25th smaller division of the rider scale is where you need to place the rider, and then you will be able to record this much of weight. Is it clear to everyone? How much time of all of you have taken actually to give this answer? And still the ones who have tried, nobody has been successful. We needed to discuss it. Okay, so you will weigh this much amount of sodium carbonate with the help of an analytical balance, and then you will transfer this in a 250 ml measuring flask. Now, measuring flask looks like a round bottom flask, but it has a flattened bottom. The in fact, flask must have been shown to you in the second class by your senior. Did he show you the measuring flask? And you remember it, the shape?
Yes.
Long spout, and it is somewhat spherical at the bottom. How is it different from a round bottom flask? Round bottom flask has the bottom even curved. You cannot place it directly on a table, on a flat surface. Whereas a measuring flask, it has a flattened bottom and you can place it on a flat surface. And this measuring flask has a graduated mark in the cylindrical region or the spout I was talking about, and you need to fill water up to that level. Then it will be able to record, say, 250 ml or 5 liter, 10 liter, whatever is the capacity of that measuring flask. So right now it is a 250 ml flask. First of all, you will transfer the weighed salt into it. How will you transfer? How will you transfer this salt into the measuring flask? You will have to use another glassware for that. What glassware will you use?
Glass rod.
Glass rod. A funnel needs to be used, isn't it?
But funnel is for like liquids and transfer liquid.
So won't it transfer solids? At most, what will happen? At most, what will happen? Some particle will stick to the walls of the funnel. Only that is the case. Yes. But a funnel will be used. It can transfer solids as well as liquids. A funnel will be used and you will transfer the contents from the weighing tube in which you will make the measurement. A weighing tube will be used for weighing this much amount of sodium carbonate. So, first of all, you take the reading of the empty weighing tube. Then you add these many weights of on the right hand side of the pan, and then you place the salt to be weighed inside the weighing tube, and you do it until the pointer in the middle, it actually stands erect on opening the knob, or it scales up equal distances on both the sides. This is how it tells you that equal weights have been placed on the pans. Means the needle, when you will open the reading position of the balance, the needle will simply stand in the middle. That will indicate, or if it is moving, then it should traverse or it should cover equal distances on both the sides, left hand side and right hand side. And if that is happening, that tells you that equal weights are present on both sides of the pan. Now, if after this you have reached this state, you will transfer the solid or the sodium carbonate salt that you have weighed with the help of a funnel. Now, as was your concern, what will happen? Some salt will stick to the walls of the funnel. Yes. But after this, two things you have to perform. Again, you have to take the reading, the third reading on the balance, which will be the reading of the empty weighing tube again. Now, why do you think the third reading is important? Weight of the empty weighing tube again. First of all, you took that reading, empty tube, then weight of the tube plus salt. Then third, you take it after transferring the salt into the measuring flask with the help of a funnel. So why do you think is the third reading important?
Because some amount of salt will stick to the walls.
Yes, some amount of salt may stick to the walls of the weighing tube, and you have to see, it is not very important that you weigh 0.265 gram only. It is important that whatever amount is being transferred to the measuring flask, that amount should be known to you. It can be somewhere near. That is why the fourth decimal place has not been given to you. So you will take the third reading after transferring the salt, and after subtracting the value of the third reading from the second reading, you will be able to calculate what is the exact amount of salt that has been transferred. Is it clear? And now coming to that point, some amount will stick to the walls of the funnel. For that, see, you have to prepare a solution. So what can you do? Simply take distilled or deionized water, and with the help of that water, how will you transfer it? How do you take distilled water or deionized water? What apparatus is used for that? What apparatus is used for that?
Ma'am, that white color bottle with a pipe. That.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so I was asking, with the help of which apparatus do you transfer distilled or deionized water in the measuring flask? Do you remember it, or should I show you the picture?
Wash bottle. Wash bottle.
Yes, wash bottle. Wash bottle is the apparatus with which you do it. I can even show you if you have forgotten. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
the wash bottle. And see in the laboratory what happens, there is a tank in which deionized water is filled. So when you start your experiment, the first thing you do is you go to that tank and you fill your wash bottle with the deionized water. And as you can see, it is made up of plastic. When you press it at the bottom, then water flows from this long tube into whatever glassware you want to transfer it. So first of all, what you will be doing, you will be washing the funnel with the help of this, in fact, wash bottle. That is why it is being called the wash bottle. So what will happen? All the salt particles that would have stuck to the walls of the funnel, they will be transferred to the measuring flask. Is it clear? How will it be done?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you have transferred all the particles into the measuring flask, you will remove the funnel and then you will add some more amount of water to the measuring flask and you will rotate it, the flask, so that the salt gets dissolved in the deionized water. Now, the principle, there is a principle which applies here. The principle says that solutions should be made always with the minimum quantity of water, first of all. Initially, the solution should be made with the minimum quantity of water. Means you will not add water up to the graduated mark on the measuring flask. You will first of all try to dissolve the salts in minimum quantity of the solvent. Clear? Say in fact only 10 to 15 ml you will require for dissolving the complete amount of salt. So you will keep on shaking the bottle, you will add some amount of water, you will keep on shaking. If it is not dissolving, add some more water, and when all the salt has dissolved in the water that you have added in the measuring flask, after that, when the salt has dissolved, after that you add the water up to the graduated mark. Is it clear? And you will even have to notice the meniscus of how do you record it. When you record or when you observe the level of water that you are adding to the measuring flask, since it will be a colorless solution, you will take the lower part of the meniscus to observe the correct reading, and your eye should be at the same level at which you have the graduated mark on the measuring flask. Maybe quickly I can go to the measuring flask as well. Just wait. You don't have measuring flask in this. Was the measuring flask shown to you? Was it shown or was it not shown?
Here is showing test tube.
Hmm?
No, not visual, ma'am.
May
No, ma'am,
not.
it was.
It was not shown. Just wait. Just wait and let me check. If not, then I will show you the measuring flask on the next turn. Have you understood the shape? In fact, I have compared it with round bottom flask and then I have discussed it with you. Have you understood the shape?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just trying if I can show you. Because I think in my PPT it was there. Yeah, just wait. I'm showing you. Is it visible? Slide number 12?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So can you see the volumetric flask or the measuring flask? It is called by both the names. Measuring flask or a volumetric flask. Is it visible on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So it has a neck,
Yes, ma'am.
long cylindrical neck, then a round or spherical body at the base, and it is flattened here. That what makes it different from a down bottom flask. And it can be of different volumes. Say starting from 100 ml to 250 ml, 500 ml, 1 liter, 5 liters. It come in various volumes. And the graduated mark you can see here in the neck. It is here. Is it visible? Is the graduated mark? Only one single line you see in the neck. Can you see it? Where I am placing the arrow?
Yes, ma'am.
So you need to fill water once you have prepared a solution, a saturated solution of sodium carbonate in the minimum quantity of water. Then you fill it up to this level and you will record the lower meniscus for the reading. And when you are adding water from the wash bottle into the volumetric flask, then this graduated mark should be at your eye level, straight. Then only you will be able to record the right volume. And it comes with a stopper. Stopper is also important. It should fit properly. So a volumetric flask or a measuring flask, it always comes with a stopper. But obviously when you are transferring the water into this, definitely the stopper will not be there. But once you have made it up to this level, then you stopper it. Then you stopper this volumetric flask and you invert it down, placing your thumb at the stopper here. You will invert it. So what will happen when you will invert it? Simply do it one time or twice, and your purpose will be solved. Why are we doing this? Inverting it after placing the stopper. What will happen when you will invert it? Come on, answer quickly. This is very obvious. First, we have prepared a saturated solution. Then we have added deionized water to it to make it up to the mark. And then we are inverting it up down. Why are we doing that?
हम सॉल्ट को डिसॉल्व करने के लिए
thoroughly mix करने के लिए
To make a homogeneous solution quickly, isn't it? Because you want the salt solution to mix throughout the volume of the solution present in the measuring flask. So that is why we are inverting it, just to mix it up properly so that we can get a homogeneous solution. Is it clear? When you go into the experimental details, actually, it takes a lot of time. This I would have shown you in the class. This would have not taken that much of time. So now is the other slide, in fact, which we were discussing. Slide number 4, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So see what has been given in the instruction. First of all, you transfer the salt to the measuring flask, then you dissolve it, say in minimum quantity. They are saying 100 ml, but it has to be dissolved in a minimum quantity of water. And then you make it up the mark by diluting it with more water. You make it up to that mark. And then inverting and all, because they are experimental details. They have not been given here in the slide. Yes, can you see that abbreviation here, DI? DI has been given for deionized water. And this is a question from my side to you. What is the difference between distilled water and deionized water? Write down the question and look for the answer. In fact, deionization technique, this will be taught to you by Dr. Aarti Chauhan in your water chemistry lecture classes. I have in fact told you on the first turn that you have to learn 3 methods for the removal of hardness causing salts from a water sample. The lime and soda method, the zeolite method, and the ion exchange method. In ion exchange method, you will be taught about deionized water. So either distilled water can be used for preparing solutions or deionized water can be used. But here in the laboratory, you are provided deionized water. So one should be knowing the difference between the two. And I hope distilled water, at least the meaning of distilled water is known to you. Yes? Do you know the meaning of distilled water? If no, then please look for the meaning of and the difference between distilled water and deionized water. This question is asked in the Viva. Now, once you have prepared this known solution of sodium carbonate, then you pipette out 25 ml of this solution in a conical flask and you add a few drops of methyl orange indicator. Methyl orange gives a direct alkalinity, total alkalinity of any water sample. So for this first step, straight away methyl orange will be used and no phenolphthalein. And you will titrate it with acid solution. The end point will be recorded when the light yellow color changes to red. And you have to repeat the titration for 2 concordant readings. This I told you on the last turn as well. What is the meaning of concordant readings? 2 consecutive, exactly same
readings.
Yes, exactly. So consecutive and exactly same. Though it is quite difficult to achieve it experimentally, it is difficult. Getting exactly the same reading one after the other. That is why even relaxation is given, that even if the first and third reading matches, you can take it. But strictly speaking, or ideally, it is 2 consecutive readings which are exactly same. They are known as concordant readings, and this you will note down as BS in table 1. I will show you table 1 right now. So this was the instruction regarding the standardization of acid, where you are preparing an acid solution, a basic solution of sodium carbonate of known strength, and you are then finding out the concentration of the given acid, and that acid will be filled in the burette, and you will titrate it using methyl orange as the indicator.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you again repeat how we choose the indicator?
How we choose the indicator? See, there we only want to know the total alkalinity present in the water sample. So total alkalinity can be given by methyl orange. Yes. Phenolphthalein has certain limitations. Phenolphthalein, what did I tell you? It tells you about the endpoint of the hydroxide ions and half of the carbonate. But if we want total alkalinity, what indicator should be used?
Methyl orange.
Methyl orange. If in that case you will use phenolphthalein, you will get the concentration that will be half of the exact concentration of carbonate, isn't it? On the basis of the equations that I told you, the three equations, neutralization, the first two are actually indicated by phenolphthalein, and all the three together are indicated by methyl orange. So we want the total alkalinity in the first case, in the standardization of acid. The total alkalinity that will correspond to the acid. That is why we have taken methyl orange. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now coming to the unknown water sample, because in the first step you will be able to find out what is going to be the strength of the supplied acid solution. Now what will happen? You will throw the contents of the conical flask. In fact, you will be repeating that experiment thrice at least to get the concordant value. Then you will throw it away and you will take the unknown water sample. You will pipette out 25 ml of unknown water sample in a clean conical flask. Then you will add phenolphthalein indicator now. Now we are coming to the procedure that we have discussed in the class. You will add phenolphthalein. If it turns pink, you will titrate it against standard acid till the color disappears, and you will record the volume as PML. Then to that same indicator, few drops of methyl orange indicator will be added, and you will continue titration from the same point till the light yellow color sharply changes to red, and you will again record the volume as mml. And the experiment has to be repeated for 2 concordant observations, as you will see in table 2. Now I will not go into much details of this step, because this we have discussed in the classroom in detail already. In fact, in your tutorial class also, you must be doing numerical problems based on this procedure only. That is step B, or second step of the experiment. Do you have any questions in your mind from this step?
मैम फिनोप्थिलीन यूज करने की जरूरत क्या है, क्योंकि मैम अपन को टोटल एल्कालिनिटी निकालनी है यहाँ पर.
Total alkalinity नहीं निकालनी है. The objective of the experiment is to determine the type of the alkalinity present in the water sample. It was in the first step that we were interested in the total alkalinity. That was for the standardization of acid. In the second step, we want to find out the type, because now we are discussing the unknown water sample. Yes? Now is it clear? Should I move to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay. So now coming to the observation part. As I was saying, the observation will start in fact with the weighing. You should also mention the least count of the analytical balance before you report these observations. You should mention the least count of the analytical balance before these observations. It should always be there. So first of all, you will be going for the weight of the empty weighing tube. That will depend on the weighing tube that you have got, because this result can vary for all the students. The weighing tube slightly differ from each other. in weight. So this reading can be different for all these students. So you do it independently. Then whatever weight is placed on the pan, to that weight you add more of 0.265 gram theoretically. So what you will do, you will add a 200 milligram weight extra, then a 50 milligram weight and a 10 mg milligram weight, and then the rider on the 25th position. Once you've done that, you will place the salt in the weighing tube and you will weight. Means you will add or subtract the salt until you get that equilibrium point where the needle will stand in the middle, exactly the middle needle, or it will sway to same distance on both the sides. Once you have done that, you will transfer the sodium carbonate crystals to the measuring flask with the help of a funnel, and you will take the third reading after the transfer. So suppose this comes out to be this much. So the weight of crystals actually taken will be given by the difference between W3 and W2. Difference between these two values, and you can note down the data that is being provided to you. I have uploaded the PPT already, but still you can note down the data. If you will look at the video, the third step, W3 weighing, has not been shown for reducing the size of the video. Have you noted down the readings? Okay, now coming to table 1, observation, table 1. This is for the standardization of acid solution. Please make this table because this has not been given as such in the lab manual. Unit reading, you will take 2 readings initially if you're starting with 0 point, final reading, volume used, and the concorded VS. So suppose that comes out to be 17.7 ml. I have uploaded the PPT already, so I do not need to wait much. Simply note down the reading as 17.7 ml for VS. Otherwise, the table is there in the PPT already, which I have uploaded in the file section of your folder, class folder. Finally, coming to table number 2. You will start with the initial burette reading, then the phenolphthalein endpoint. Volume of acid used will be calculated from the difference between V2 and V1. Then you will continue titration. You will record the methyl orange endpoint. Then volume used will be given by the difference of V3 and V1. And finally, you will note down the concordant readings. Now, one more thing. The symbols that have been used in this experiment or this table, they are different from what we have discussed in the class. Because in the class, for us, P and M were the strength up to phenolphthalein endpoint and methyl orange endpoint. They were the strength, but that is not the case over here. So remember, the symbols are different in this experiment from what we have learned in the class. The symbols are different. So you are getting P is equals to 0. So tell me the observation. When you will add phenolphthalein, what will happen? When you will add phenolphthalein, which is colorless, to water solution, what will you observe? Pink color or no color?
No change.
Yes? What will you observe? No color, yes. Even after adding phenolphthalein, you will not get any color. So if P is equals to 0, which type is it?
Bicarbonate only.
Bicarbonate only. Yes, that is the case. So after this, you will come to the calculations. And as I said, twice you have to apply the law of chemical equivalence. First of all, you will find out the normality of the acid solution. See, it is here, and it is involving the volume Vs that you will take from table 1, and here W is the weight that will be there from the weighing measurements. Here the equivalent weight of sodium carbonate is involved, and this core factor has come from the volume of the measuring flask. It was 250 ml. So when 250 ml will be converted to liter, it is going to be 1/4. That is why this 4 will come in the numerator. Do it by yourself and check. And the next step, again, the law of chemical equivalence has been applied. Combining the two and multiplying by 50,000, you will get the answer in ppm. I have taken up the discussion on this calculation in detail in the class, so that is why I am not taking it up here right now. If you will have any doubt, you can discuss it in the next term. This table has been discussed in the class already. You have to draw this table in your practical files as well. And finally, you will report the result. For the given sample, what is the hydroxide alkalinity, what is the carbonate alkalinity, and what is the bicarbonate alkalinity. So, since you have told me which type is present, what about hydroxide and carbonate? What will you write here? Hydroxide and carbonate will be what? Nil or zero. Yes, there is going to be no alkalinity corresponding to hydroxide and carbonate. So with this, now we have come to the end of the experiment. Are there any questions now from what I have told you today? Content I have already uploaded, and now the two experiments. On the last one, I did not ask you to submit the assignment. Now the two experiments. One is the bleaching powder experiment and the other is the alkalinity experiment. Experiment number 1 and experiment number 2. You have to upload it till Sunday. I am giving you 2 days time. In fact, if you will include today itself, so it's going to be 2.5 days at least. So you have to submit the assignment, the two practicals, by Sunday 9 p.m. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to report the results in your practical files. You do not need to write the procedure, and theory I want you to write, because that is going to be in fact the preparation of your viva. In the theory, I want to see the difference between distilled water and deionized water. And why are you using two indicators in the experiment? Final step I'm talking about. Yes. Do you have any questions, or should we close for today?